I'm going on a road trip that's going to take me halfway across the country and back. So how do I prepare for a road trip like that and get Shasta prepared? Well, I'll show you coming up. Nothing but the open road and time. Okay, so I was only able to get a week off of work, but you get the idea. And in fact, to give you an idea how long the trip is, there and back, it's a little under 4,000 miles. Now, this is a trip that I've done before. It's from Northern California to Central Texas. And it was a little less than a year ago. I only had the car for maybe about a month. Now, keep in mind, I'm coming off of, at least before this car, I had a Nissan Leaf and didn't allow me to go on road trips. So you can only imagine the experience I had with the supercharging network and not having to use any gas, and really even the money savings of not having to use gas either. Now, what's different from this road trip to the one that I did before is the fact that I'm bringing my 10-year-old son with me. So I'll probably be making a few more stops along the way to make the road trip a little bit more interesting for him, and obviously probably a little bit more interesting for me, to be quite honest. So having done this trip before, I pretty much know what to expect. So I want to share with you what I'm doing to prepare for it. All right, so here you have it. This is some of the bare essentials. I mean, there are going to be some other things, personal items that you may need, but for the most part, based on what I know from the trip that I've done before, these are some of the things that I want to make sure that I've got, especially bringing a 10-year-old and making sure you've got everything. All right, so we are going to be traveling across the desert. You're talking about Nevada, we're talking about New Mexico and Arizona, and then of course it's very hot and humid as you start getting into Texas. So even though it's going to be hot out there during the day, it can get pretty chilly in the overnight hours when you're going through the desert. So just in case you get stranded or something happens, want to make sure that we've got some coats to maybe keep us warm, got a blanket, probably going to have pillows and more blankets too, just for the trip, as you know, a 10-year-old will most likely be able to sleep pretty well in the car. I've got a tarp here. I like to just always have this in my car in general. If there's going to be something that's liquid in the trunk or the frunk, I like to line it with this to kind of protect it. So always just a good idea to have a tarp in there. It's a small one. I think it's about a 10 by 10. I've also got, and this is something you've probably seen a lot on YouTube, is people sleeping in the back of their Tesla Model 3s. So what I did is I took the dimensions, and I forget the exact dimensions, but I'll put those below the screen here so you know what size mattress to use. And in fact, we'll show this blown up and how it looks in the back of the car. But as a way to save money too, because I only need about 2, 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep, maybe even less than that, to kind of get myself going for the rest of the trip, I thought maybe we could stop off at some RV sites and blow up the mattress, gets a little bit of shut-eye. And of course, here is the air pump to pump that up. So that is going to be an interesting experience there. I didn't have that with my last trip. This, of course, is the entire charging station, if you will. It's got the 110 in there, and you know, just basically the trickle charge in there. And then if I am at an RV site, I can plug in there for a faster charge, or level 2 charge. So good to have that with me. And of course, you can't forget that adapter as well. This is a pump in case I get a flat tire, or I get low on air in the tire, I can use this. And this is in case, you know, you get a nail or a screw in your car. This is that repair that you can do for that. All right, so that's that. And of course, you've always got that roadside assistance if you need it. This is a vacuum cleaner. It's essential when you've got a 10-year-old in the car snacking. So kind of a way to keep the car clean during the trip. This right here, you see this? Some of the luxuries that we're used to at gas stations, you just don't have at superchargers. And one of those is the basically windshield washer, right? And the squeegee on there. You always have those at gas stations. It's something we're used to and really, quite honestly, have taken for granted over these years. Well, they don't have those at Superchargers. So I've got my squirt bottle with a little solution in there. It's basically just some water and a little bit of dish soap for the windows. And then, of course, I can use it to scrub and squeegee to get off all of the bugs. I've also got some other essentials in here. I've got just to kind of keep the car clean on the outside if it starts getting a little bit dusty or what have you, or say bird poop or anything that I don't want on the car. I've also got some window washer. I can wash the inside and outside of the windshield or just the windows in general. This is just some interior cleaner that I like to use. And we all know that the front of the Tesla Model 3 is a bug magnet. So on top of just kind of scrubbing it off with some soap and water, I've also got this bug and tar remover, which I can use along the way to kind of help maintain and keep those bugs off of the front of the car. And if you spent any time in the desert Southwest and really even in Texas, the bugs out there are gigantic and it can leave a huge mess in the front of your grill. So you want to try to maintain that. And of course, I've got a lot of microfiber cloths in here, and just to help kind of keep the outside and the inside of the car clean. They're all in there. And of course, I just use this bucket to kind of store it all in. All right, so you've got that. We were talking about changing the tire or if anything happens. I did that video a little bit earlier about the hockey puck and the door bumpers here. This is what you use to jack up the car. So if you do have to take it to a shop anywhere, whether it's close to home or even on a road trip, it's good to always have these in your car. You need 4 of them because there are those 4 safe jack up points. And of course, to lift it too, using a lift, they need to make sure they have all 4 of these in as well. And of course, you've got some of the essentials for a 10-year-old, his iPad. Now, he loves to spend time. If you have a 10-year-old like me or somewhere around that age, you know how much time they like to spend on these. And as a parent, you try to limit that, right? But you can only do so much. So I've got this. But to help limit that time, we went to Barnes & Noble. We went to a bookstore, and we had them look at a bunch of books. So some of these are just regular reading books. Some are activity books. So that should kind of help kind of keep him. And just kind of a side note, what I'm doing with that, because again, I'm not a big fan of them always staying on their electronics. What I plan on doing to get a little creative with the supercharging is basically alternate between supercharging stops. So between one supercharging stop, books and activity books, another between the next charging stop, you can use the iPod. And you keep going back and forth between those supercharging stops that kind of help limit that use. And of course, that kind of teaches him, I guess, in a sense, a little bit of time management as well. So that is pretty much it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you where I'm putting these all in the car. I'm going to utilize the use of the frunk, and not to mention the trunk as well, because I want to make sure I don't have too much stuff just everywhere, because I am going to be putting those back seats down to inflate this mattress when we do get a little bit of shut-eye at night. So let's get all this stuff and clear it off the counter and put it in the car. All right, so let's go straight to the frunk and see what I've got in there. Open her up and see what's on inside here. So, this is one of the things that I will mention about the frunk. I enjoy and am very appreciative of the extra storage, but this is where I tend to keep things that I don't use on a regular basis and don't use a lot, because I don't like the way you have to close the frunk, and I wish Tesla had done a better job with that. But again, I'm not complaining. It is what it is. So this is what I'm doing with the space here. All right, so you can of course see on top here, got the vacuum cleaner in case the kiddo makes a mess inside the car. Here is the air compressor. This will put some air in the tires if I need it. We've also got my charging kit here as well. Now, this is also important. Make sure you bring your adapter. The J1772 plugs, the ones that look like this, obviously we don't use these for the Tesla. However, this adapter is what we need in order to do that. So if you find yourself in a bind and you don't have a supercharging or don't have a supercharger anywhere near, or even a destination charger for Tesla, but you need this, then this is a good thing to always have with you. These, of course, are the jack pads, 4 of them total. This is the tire repair kit. I've got the blanket and, of course, the coats in here, and not to mention the tarp as well. All right, so that's what I've got in here. Again, I think for everybody it's going to be different how you do it, but this is the way I prefer to kind of put all of my things in and get them nice and orderly and ready to go. Okay, so now we're looking at the trunk, and you'll notice I got a couple of chairs in here. I always just like to, especially if we are indeed going to be staying at any RV places, you might want to have just a chair to sit down in. They might have picnic tables, but just kind of maybe a sit down in a casual chair. So I'm going to push those back for now because I'm going to take out this extra compartment storage here. And this is where I have some of the other essentials, right? So I've got that bucket full of all my cleaning supplies in there. I've got this to wash the window with a squeegee on it. I've also got a plastic bag to put over this once it does get wet, so it doesn't get any water or anything inside the car. This, of course, is the air pump for the air mattress that I have in there. That's going to fit perfectly in there. We'll take a look at that next. And I've got my cleaning solution for the windshield as I am in a charging stop right there. Doesn't fit, it's a little too tall. I suppose maybe I can get a shorter bottle that'll fit in there, but for now it fits quite nicely in the side right over here. So that's kind of the essentials there. And just to kind of give you an idea, for a 10+ day road trip with your suitcase, I mean, there's nothing other than these lawn chairs here. There is nothing else back here. So I still got plenty of storage for my suitcase and anything else that I might need along the way. Okay, so I've got the air mattress for the first time set up here. I have not blown this up before. We're going to see if this fits and to kind of give you an idea where the pump is going to go, or at least where it's going to plug in. You've got a DC outlet, which is, I'm going to go ahead and put the tripod right here. Get it up there a little bit here, and I'm going to come around the other side and I'm going to show you where it is. Because you open up the armrest and it's within here. So you open up this armrest, you take out this little storage unit, you grab the DC cable, see if I can find it, there it is, and it's just right underneath right here, right in there. So you just plug it into the DC outlet, and we're going to go see if we can pump up the air mattress. And let's get her plugged in here. And off we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this off the tripod and give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So you can see if we look all the way back in here, it fits at the edge right there, looks good. It is not even butting up against the side, so there is a little bit of extra space there, so that's good. We'll come around over here, and you can see that there is plenty of space. You just maybe want to put the seats up there. You can kind of see it fits. It's a pretty good fit here, perfect. And again, I'll be sure to post those dimensions and where I got this on Amazon, so you can get this if you want. So let's get a shot of me inside here and see just how comfortable this thing is. Okay, so my first thought is to maybe go through the trunk, but to be quite honest, I'm looking through there now and I'm thinking, no, I don't want to feel like crawling through there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through on this side, kind of spare you any butt shots as I'm going in. All right, so let's go and put this in, get in here. Is it super spacious? Of course not. I'm 6'2". So, I'm probably not going to be able to lie flat unless I have the trunk open, and we'll see about that. But so this is me with my head on the pillow. Let's say I'm gonna have a pillow, but I'll have a pillow there. My feet are barely dangling out actually of the end of the trunk. So, I could maybe, well, we'll see. But what I'll do, I'll get a shot of my feet where they are on the edge to kind of give you an idea. But all in all, I'm going to need about 3, maybe 4 hours tops of some rest just to kind of charge myself. And so I think there's plenty of room for both of us here just for a quick nap. And then if I do decide to kind of keep trekking on in the early morning hours, I can wake my son up. He can sleep in the front. It's not safe for him to sleep back here. Back in the 70s when I was growing up, yeah, sure, we would have done that. But you can't do that these days. But yeah, you get the idea here. So I think, again, this should work out pretty well. But obviously the true test will be during the trip. So I'm really excited about the trip, and since this is the second time that I've done this trip, I feel as though I'm better prepared. Although I wasn't ill prepared the first time, but I know what to expect this time around. And of course, these are some of the things on my list. There may be things on your list that you may feel essential as well. So be sure to put those in the comment section below. And here are a couple of essentials that I think are good to kind of keep in mind. You know, because if you're used to having a gas car and never had an electric car, here are some of the essentials that I think you just really can't go without. Number one, make sure you've got your charging unit, because even though the supercharging network is phenomenal, most likely you're not going to need it. There's always going to be that emergency situation that you're going to wish you had your charging unit with you. And of course, my final destination, my dad's house, he doesn't have a level 2 charger ready to go. In fact, he's just got a 110 outlet that I can use. So I'll be able to trickle charge overnight when I'm over at his place. And another thing that's essential is making sure that since you don't have a spare tire, you want to make sure that you've got an air compressor. So in case you do get low on air, that if you don't have a gas station nearby to fill up the tires, you can use that air compressor to do that. Also, make sure that you've got a tire repair kit. In case you get a screw or a nail in your tire, you'll be able to use that repair kit to repair your tire. But of course, anything outside of that, if you have to call the Tesla service to get a new tire, or maybe you've got to take it to a shop to get repaired, you've also got to make sure that you've got those 4 jack pads that I showed you, because that is the safest way for them at the shop to lift your car. So again, those are kind of the essentials right there. Anything outside of that, such as the cleaning supplies, the vacuum cleaner, even the air mattress, those are on my personal list, and those are the things that are going to make my trip more pleasurable for me. So thank you all so much for watching. I'm excited to share my trip with you. And another thing I'd like to ask is that between now and my trip, I'd like to read the comment sections and kind of get from you what you'd like to get out of this trip. What are some things that you would like for me to cover when it comes to a long road trip, such as charging, whatever it is that you think you'd like to kind of learn about the car? Because I do plan on not only doing a video about the trip in general, but I'm going to take several different topics within that road trip to take advantage of that and to be able to give you more information and to give you more learning material, or to give myself more teaching materials, if you will, about a road trip in general. Now, one of the things that I do plan on doing is, you may recall I did the video on the navigation system inside the Tesla Model 3. What I plan on doing is, on the way there, I'm going to use a better route planner and kind of give you an idea how that works. And then on the way back, I'm not going to use a better route planner, so I can kind of compare and contrast between the two, and then in the end probably just do a better overall review process of a better route planner in general. So again, I'd love to hear what you think and what you'd like to get out of this trip, some of the things that you'd like to learn about the car when it comes to road trips. So be sure to post those in the comments section below. So once again, I'm excited to go on this trip, not only for me and not only for my son, but for you, and to be able to share this experience. So until my next video, and until we're on the road, stay positively charged.